Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pokemon League World Championship in 2025. This video will go over all 20 participants of the championship this year and go over how likely I think they are to win the title and some of their major Pokemon, as well as some of the reasons I believe they are at that level. So we're going to start off straight away with Ash, and Ash I am putting at a high threat level. The threat level is how likely I believe this trainer is going to win the championship, and I think Ash is a very high candidate to win it, to be right up there at the top. And that's mostly because of massive power Pokemon like his Pikachu. That Pikachu is threatening, don't underestimate it. It will be holding Light Ball at all times here. He also has access to a Dragonite, a Dracovish, which can be very scary, Mega Lucario, and he also gets Z Crystals as well. Ash, definitely a very dangerous threat to a lot of trainers here. Next up we also have Red, also a high threat level. His major Pokemon will be Snorlax, Espeon, Mega Charizard, and he also gets Z Crystals, as well as we see in the Battle Tree in Sun and Moon. All of these trainers will be using Pokemon that we have seen them use at some point during the games or in the anime. Next up we have Blue, Red's big rival. He's also a high threat level. 3 trainers in a row from Kanto with high threat levels. Very likely to win the championship. Blue will be using Alakazam, Tyranitar. He can Mega Evolve all of the Kanto starters. He also gets access to Z Crystals, as we see in the Battle Tree from Sun and Moon. Next up we have Lance. Now I put Lance at medium threat level. I don't think Lance is going to be as dangerous as the last 3. His major Pokemon are going to be Dragonite, Gyarados, and Mega Charizard X. Now, he doesn't get as many powerful Pokemon, as many options, as the previous 3. And he doesn't get Z Crystals like the previous 3 as well, and only 1 Mega. Whereas Blue has the option of 3, and he could potentially use all 3 in one battle, so he can manipulate whatever he wants to do mid-battle as well. Lance can't do that, and a few trainers can't do that, actually. And I think, being a Dragon Specialist, his team is manipulatable. Is easily manipulated. It's quite easy to just pick apart the team and try to focus on an advantage. And I think it's quite easy to break him down. But he is still a powerful trainer, that's why I put him as a medium threat. Next up we have Steven. I'll put Steven controversially at a low threat level, and that's only because I can only think of one major Pokemon that he has, and that's Metagross. That's that Mega Metagross. Don't get me wrong, that Mega Metagross is very powerful, but again, a type specialty in Steel and Rock will really not help Steven push for the championship here. I don't think that he is that big a threat to the title, mostly because, again, a very easily manipulated team. Fighting types, Steel types for the Rock types, Ground types, all of very, very potent attacking types are very threatening to Steven's team. So I'll put him as a low threat level, mostly also because of that only one Pokemon that I can really think of being a major threat on the battlefield, and that is his Mega Metagross. Again, don't get me wrong, that Mega Metagross is powerful. It's one of the most powerful Pokemon in the entire league. But it is only one Pokemon, and he really needs more variety in his team. That's one of the biggest things in this championship that are going to help. Next up we have Wally. Wally also, sadly, a low threat level. Both Hoenn trainers at a low threat level here. Hoenn does not feel well represented here. But he will have Garchomp. He has Mega Altaria and Mega Gallade, 2 Megas that he can use. But at the end of the day, he really only has one team. Wally has barely any usable options. So the team is going to be very, very similar, which is easy. Again, very easy to manipulate, very easy to work around. Unfortunately for Wally. Again, a great team, Garchomp, Mega Gallade, Magnezone. Very powerful, very potent Pokemon, but with the same team for every battle, it's very easy to work around Wally, to plan for what he can do. And that's why he's at low threat level. Jumping all the way back up to a high threat level, it's Cynthia. She has a very, very powerful Pokemon, a huge variety as well. She has a Mega Lucario and potentially Mega Garchomp as well on her team. Also, Pokemon like Togekiss, very powerful Pokemon, much more powerful than you would expect. Very, very high stat total there. Very, very much a problem being able to spread paralysis. Serene Grace with Air Slash as well can cause a lot of problems and can really slow a team down. Mega Lucario and Mega Garchomp on the same team as well. She can use both of them at the same time, similar to Blue. Adapt her strategy mid-battle. Very, very dangerous. And of course, Mega Garchomp, another one of the strongest Pokemon in the entire league, tied for Metagross, I believe. Next up is Paul, Ash's rival from the Sinnoh region. He is a medium threat level because he doesn't get much in terms of increasing his Pokemon's power, like Mega Evolution, like Z-Crystals, like terastalization. He doesn't get any of that, but he does have fantastic Pokemon. He has a decent variety of teams as well. He has a few options that he can manipulate and change to. He has powerful Pokemon like Gyarados, Metagross, Garchomp, and of course his massive ace Electivire as well. I don't see Paul being a massive threat to the title, but I do see him staying up, and I see him doing quite well, actually. I see him surprising a few trainers. Next up is Iris, and another possible quite surprise. A lot of people would expect Iris to be a high threat level. I don't believe she will be. She does have Dragonite, Hydreigon, and Haxorus, but again, just like Paul, she does use items, but she has a low variety of Pokemon as well. She doesn't have that many Pokemon to switch to. And she doesn't, again, being from the 5th generation where there are no Mega Evolution, no Z-Crystals, no nothing, she can't use any of them as well. And we haven't seen her since the Unova region, so it's going to be a difficult climb for Iris. And I've put her at a medium threat level for those reasons. But I still think she can do well. I think she can surprise a few people. She can surprise a few teams. But I think she can be easily manipulated as well, being mostly a Dragon type trainer. I think it's going to be challenging for Iris, but I think she can do fairly well. I don't think she can claim the title, but I do see her being quite high mid-table. Next up is Alder, also medium threat. Again, he doesn't have any. He has a decent variety of Pokemon, but he doesn't have anything like Mega Evolution or anything like that. But he does have powerful Pokemon, Volcarona, Crocodile, and Chandelure, fast, heavy hitters as well. Volcarona with Quiver Dance as well is extremely, extremely powerful. Chandelure can hit very, very hard naturally with massive special attack, and Crocodile is a fantastic Pokemon as well. Being able to use Intimidate or Moxie at the same time on the same Pokemon could be very, very difficult to work around. Next up is Diantha. Now, Diantha is one of the lowest threat levels, I think, of the entire championship. She has Mega Gardevoir and Hawlucha. She does have Mega Evolution, but she does not use any items at all, ever, and she only has one team. So I think Diantha can very, very easily be worked around and just easily overpowered, really. So I put her quite a low threat level. I do not see Diantha ending up very high on this table, despite that Mega Gardevoir. Unfortunately for Diantha. And the same goes for Alard as well, despite the Mega Charizard, Metagross, and Tyranitar. Again, he has very, very limited options. Very limited options. And I just think that means he can very easily be worked out and overpowered. Just can't see Alarn. As powerful and as great as a trainer he is, I don't think that team is going to do him any favours in this championship. There's not a lot of Pokemon to be able to change to be able to work around certain teams. That's one of the biggest things in this championship, that one of the most important things in this championship is being able to work around those around those teams, around the Pokemon that threaten you, by having different options to change to. Alarm just doesn't have that. He has the power, but he doesn't have the options, sadly. Next up is Kukui. Now, Kukui does have a few options, and very good options at that as well. He does have Z-Crystals, which I didn't put on this slideshow for some reason. He also has Ninetales, Incineroar, and Snorlax, and great Pokemon as well, and he can use all of the Alola starters as well if he chooses to. And that Incineroar does get Malicious moves though at some point, which can be really, really devastating to certain Pokemon. And I think Kukui can really upset a few trainers. I think Kukui is probably the dark horse of this championship to me. I think he can do very, very well if he picks the right team. Next up is Leon, a high threat here. We're back to high threats. And Leon is definitely one of those high threats with some fantastically powerful Pokemon. Aegislash, Dragapult, the Gala starters, and that Charizard. Unfortunately, he can't Dynamax with the format that we're playing in. Obviously, Dynamax is completely removed from Generation 9 to be replaced by terastalization. But I still think Leon's just sheer power of his Pokemon is just the regular Pokemon that he has are just very powerful and can really do a lot of damage. Dragapult especially is such a scary Pokemon because it's so fast and can hit very, very hard. I think that Dragapult could be one of the most dangerous Pokemon in the championship if he can keep it alive. And I do see that Dragapult making it to almost all of Leon's team, as well as that Charizard and Aegislash as a very standard lead here. But he has a good variety of Pokemon and a few Pokemon that you wouldn't expect, like Seismitoad as well. Also, Rhyperior is a fantastic Pokemon as well that Leon could put to good use as a very bulky wall to try and slow teams down. He can change his strategy quite quickly because he has a good variety of bulky and powerful and fast and heavy hitting. That's why I've put him at a high threat level. I definitely see Leon being right up there in the fight for the title. Next up is Mustard, and this is a huge, huge surprise to most people, I think, being a low threat level. But once you think about it, once you go back after and listen to everything I've said previously about other trainers, it kind of has to be a low threat level for Mustard. He only has one team. Yes, he has Urshifu, which is one of the strongest non-mega Pokemon in the entire championship. He also has Kabor and Mienshao. Mienshao is fast, can hit quite hard, it has Fake Out, it can cause problems. Kabor, a pseudo-legendary, naturally very powerful, and Urshifu just very heavy hitting and a very threatening Pokemon. But again, he only has the one team, and as I keep saying, if you can build around the one team, you should be able to win that battle fairly easily if you can manage all 6 of your opponent's Pokemon. If you have counters, hard counters, you should be good. And Mustard just does not have the options to be able to change, to manipulate other Pokemon, to be able to counter other teams. He only has his one team to work with, and that's why I put him at a low threat level. Similar to Raihan. Now, Raihan is another powerful trainer, but I don't see him being a very high threat. Mostly because he doesn't seem to know what he wants. Because Raihan is a Dragon-type trainer, but he uses Weather. And that Weather in singles, which is the format that we're going with, it's either Sun or Sand. Now, his team is built to be able to deal with both of them, but he doesn't have a full team to be able to manage either. So it's a strange situation for Raihan. He does have a few options, but those options are mostly to change to match the weather that he's using. And it will either be Gigalith or Torkoal setting up the weather, which leaves the rest of the team kind of the same. He also does have that Duraludon, but there are stronger Pokemon out there now, like Archaludon as well. If there was a trainer with an Archaludon, that Duraludon is just simply going to get overpowered by sheer higher stats by its evolution. But so I've put Raihan at quite a low threat level just because I think he doesn't have a solid strategy to be able to deal with other Pokemon, to be able to deal with the team. He doesn't have a solid team put together, unfortunately. Next up is Geeta. Now Geeta is in a very similar situation to Steven in the point that she doesn't have many options. She has some good Pokemon, but she doesn't have a lot of options at all. She has very, very few options, and she has Glimmora and Kingambit as some of her major Pokemon, and she can Terastalize that Kingambit as well. Or the Glimmora. But I just don't think the rest of the team is threatening enough to be able to work on its own. Especially since she doesn't have that many options. But I think that's why I put Geeta so low, is because she just doesn't have the options to be able to deal with the other teams. And she just doesn't have the power to be able to make that team work just on its own. But Terastalization could help. Could change a few matchups for her if she can use it correctly. Similar with Nemona. Now Nemona has a few more options, I think, than Geeta. She has quite a few Pokemon that she can use, like Pawmot, Komodo, Gudra. 2 pseudo legendaries on one team could be dangerous. All the Paldea starters she can use at any point, and she also gets access to Terastalization. She can be a very, very serious threat, but she is still limited by not that many options and not an enormous amount of power. She certainly has power behind her, but I don't think it's enough to be able to put her into the high threat level. I do see the border doing very well up in the mid-table, but I don't see her pushing that high for the championship title. Similarly with Kieran. Now Kieran is a fantastic trainer and does very, very well in the DLC. But I'm putting him at a medium threat level for very similar reasons to Nemona. He doesn't have enough variety and enough power behind him. He does have Dragonite and Hydrapple, and he can Terastalize that Hydrapple as well. He has some very powerful Pokemon behind him, some very good strategy behind him. He has a fantastic use of items, one of the best uses of items in the championship. But a lot of other trainers will use items, and they have the Pokemon to just overpower Kieran as well. So I don't see Kieran pushing high enough for the championship, but he could get close and he could surprise a few people. And finally, for our 20th trainer, is a bit of a surprise. It's Ivy from Pokeroad. And yes, Ivy is of course a high threat level, probably the highest threat level of the entire championship. Probably the most dangerous trainer in the entire tournament. She has a massive, extreme variety of Pokemon, so many Pokemon to choose from, so many options. She can use Mega Evolution, Z-Crystals, and Terastalization as well. She's so unbelievably unpredictable. It's very, very hard to build around Ivy because you have no idea what could be coming. No idea. She has some good Pokemon behind her as well. She has some very powerful Pokemon. She will not be using that Rayquaza. Don't worry, she will not be using that Rayquaza. 1, because it's not in Showdown. And 2, because, as mentioned in the intro, it's a restricted legendary, which is banned completely. And I think the rest of the traders can breathe a sigh of relief for that. But still, Ivy is a huge, enormous threat to the title. I think she can surprise a lot of people. And I think she will go very, very far. She's one of the most dangerous traders in the entire championship. So, with that all out of the way, we've met all of our 20 traders. Now let's have a look at the first week of fixtures for the Pokemon League World Championship in 2025. So, We have Ivy, as we've just seen, against Steven. We have Cynthia against Wally. Leon against Blue. Ash against Geeta. Mustard against Nimona. Paul against Kieran, sorry. Steven's battling Ivy. Kukui against Iris. Lance and Red. That's going to be a really cool battle. Diantha and Alan. 2 Carlos trainers already. Both Carlos trainers battling each other immediately. And Raihan against Alder. Ivy and Steven will be the first battle on Friday night. Then we will have Cynthia against Wally, Leon and Blue, Ash and Geeta, Nimona and Mustard, sorry, other way around. On Saturday, Paul and Kieran, Kukui and Iris, Lance and Red, and Diantha and Alan on Sunday. And then Raihan and Alder on Monday. I did get the timings a little bit mixed up in the intro, but that is the correct timing for all of these battles. Ivy against Steven on Monday. Cynthia, Leon, Ash, and Mustard will be battling their opponents on Saturday. Paul, Kukui, Lance, and Diantha will be battling on Sunday. And then Raihan against Alder on Monday morning. So, leave your predictions for who's going to win these battles in the comments. And let's see how the first week of the Pokemon League World Championship turns out.